Three, two, one, let's go. So, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode on the George Habib channel. I am clearly George Habib, and today we've got a pretty interesting conversation for you guys. But before we move on to the topic, I would like to ask you all, if you haven't done so already, to please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and if you truly want to spoil me, please click the bell notification down below, because doing all these things lets YouTube know that our content is interesting and it allows our channel to be recommended to others, and that helps us with growing this channel. Now, moving on to the topic. The topic I wanted to talk about today was, what is the true measure of success? And I wanted to talk about this because in a previous Q&A video I did, someone asked me what success looked like to me. And I wanted to make a whole video based out of that. So before we get into what success really looks like, in my humble opinion, I want to talk about what people usually associate with success. The first big one that comes to mind is actually money. People think if you're a millionaire or a billionaire, if you're really wealthy, if you're Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, that you're a very successful person. You can buy more yachts, mansions, private islands in the middle of the ocean, and that you've achieved success because you got a bunch of zeros in your bank account. The second measure of success people commonly think about is power. And what that is the ability to influence people into doing what you want them to do. On one side, you've got dictators who can control an entire country. On the other side, you've got influential politicians in America or Western Europe who can basically determine the laws that change our lives for better or for worse. Although in my opinion, it's usually worse. And then you have the third indicator of success that people think indicates success, and that is fame. And that is basically how many people, millions of people around the world can recognize either your face, your voice, your work, your art. And basically, if they saw you down in the streets, they would want to take a selfie with you. So those are basically the three measures of success people commonly think about: money, fame, money, power, and fame. And guys, to me, even though those things are big achievements and they can correlate with success, for me, the true indicator of success is happiness. Because in my opinion, what's the point of having millions of dollars, billions of dollars? What's the point of running a country, being president or prime minister or basically being an influential politician? So what's a politician? What's the point of being so famous, having your face on billboards, appearing in movies and things like this? What's the point of all of these things if you're not happy? If you hate yourself, what is billions of dollars going to do, aside from maybe buy some therapy? If you are really unhappy with being under scrutiny from the public, with everyone watching your moves, what's the point of being a politician or a dictator? And if your fame just brings you more baggage and dysfunctional relationships, what's the point if you're not happy? And many of these guys just aren't happy. If we look at billionaires and millionaires, if we look at the rich people we know in our lives, these are some of the most dysfunctional families I've ever seen. These are the most they got terrible issues. You usually see infidelity. You see a lot of marital arguments, some cases of domestic abuse. You even see a lot of divorce rates, and such dysfunctional children come from these very wealthy households. If you look at the biggest billionaires, like Rupert Murdoch, for example, they've had several divorces. Rupert Murdoch, the founder of Fox, has had 4 divorces, as far as I know. And if you look at Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, these guys attributed a large part of their successes to their wives. They said these were their life partners. These were their partners in crime. These were the people who supported them when things were tough. And look where they are now. Jeff Bezos had a big divorce with his wife, and Bill Gates had a really messy divorce with his wife because there's some sketchy shit that's coming out of it. I would suggest you guys look into it. But the point is, when you're happy, when you're rich, you're not necessarily happy. And if you're not happy, what's the point? It doesn't get better when you're a dictator, where you have this unfortunate case of sometimes getting shot in the head. Gaddafi, dictator of Libya, ruled for decades, built a huge power, put his family in influential positions. Where is he now? He got shot in the head. And if you look at the president, if you look at the presidents and prime ministers of the world, like let's say we look at Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, George Washington, these guys look like they've aged decades from their at most 8 years in office. They've had to deal with a lot of stress. They've dealt even with a lot of family dysfunction, especially in the case of Bill Gates. And these guys look like they've aged terribly. And even fame, like let's look at the recent Amber Heard Johnny Depp case. For the past 6 years, people thought Johnny Depp was a domestic abuser. They thought he hit Amber Heard. They thought he was very abusive and harassing of Amber Heard. He had to deal with a terrible divorce while his mom was dying. He's had people in the media call him a terrible father. He's lost many of his lead acting roles, such as in Pirates of the Caribbean and in the Harry Potter movies, Crimes with Grindelwald. And now, even though the verdict now finally, now even though he finally cleared his name with the verdict in the case, he still went through 6 years of hell. And for what? My point is, guys, there is something that happens to all of us eventually. It's called the great equalizer. We all eventually die. When we're rich, our net worth does not transfer into heaven or hell or into non-existence, depending on our beliefs. When we're powerful, guess what? We're not powerful anymore the second we die. We don't get to command armies from the grave. We don't get to determine policies from the grave. We don't get people still listening to what we say from the grave because we're dead. We can't speak anymore. And fame, okay, look, with fame, we can argue that our works live on past death, but even then, we don't benefit from such works even at the moment we die. And sometimes we can find our reputations ruined long after the fact of death. That's why I always go back to happiness. If we can have the luxury of being on our deathbeds, if we look and reflect on the decades, hopefully decades of our lives, and if we look and say, I led a good life, I can die content. To me, that's the biggest success out of all the others. If I can look back at if I'm on my deathbed, I can look back and I say, I've helped a lot of people. I've raised a good family. I've raised good kids. I've had a beautiful relationship with my wife or husband. I've been able to be a strong pillar of the community. I've created the cure for cancer. If we can look back at these years of our life and conclude that we led a good and fulfilling lives and we can die happily, to me, that's the biggest case for success. It's not billions of dollars. It's not power. It's not my face on billboards. To me, it's living a life well lived and being content with the end result. If you guys, so given that, do what makes you happy. If you want to have a reasonable job, if you want to live a basic life, if what makes you happy is being alone in your house with a fireplace, reading a good book and relaxing, do that. If it's starting a happy family, if it's having fun trips with your kids, if it's having a beautiful relationship with your spouse and having that person be the partner of your life, do that. If it's art, if it's art, do art. If it's singing, do singing. If it's writing a book, write a book. But you cannot tell me that being filthy rich and with all the dysfunction, you cannot tell me that being crazy powerful and with getting shot to the head, and you cannot tell me being crazy famous and with all the liabilities that brings, with all the scrutiny under journalists, courts, and public eye, you cannot tell me that having achieved all that and then still not being happy is a sign of success. We get only one life. Maybe we get an afterlife, but that's not a guarantee. But my point sticks. We get only one life. And if that life was achieving a lot of material wealth, if it was sleeping with a ton of people, if it was playing video games, if it was like basically doing a lot of these things we associate with success, and we're not happy at the end of it, I cannot see that as anything but a waste of life. People need to do what they truly want. They need to do what truly makes them happy. And they won't know what that is unless they try a bunch of different things. If you look at another person and they're happy, that's not necessarily for you. Maybe it makes them happy. Maybe they're actually not happy and they're putting on a brave face. But the point is, try a bunch of different things, try hobbies, try exercise, try creative outlets, try entrepreneurial outlets, see what makes you happy. And when you achieve happiness, you'll know you're happy because you don't try anything else. Because for me, guys, happiness, it's not money, it's not power, it's not fame. These things can relate to happiness, but they can also be the biggest detriment to happiness possible. And there are other things that happiness are not. Happiness is not pleasure. It's not doing drugs and sleeping with a ton of people. Happiness is not just excitement. It's not like doing crazy things because you're not used to crazy things. It's not jumping off a cliff and going nuts. You can live an exciting life and a happy life, but don't be just a thrill seeker just trying to do random shit. And finally, and this is one of the biggest things for me, happiness is not comfort. Staying in your comfort zone, not leaving your house, not trying new things, not being brave, not experimenting, things like this, that's not true happiness, that's comfort. That's having the inability to face many different things that you could possibly like and enjoy. And then that's basically for me a wasted life, just staying in home, scared of the outside, scared of social interaction, and just being happy playing video games, eating junk food, and not confronting difficult things in life. For me, happiness is a life with fulfillment. It's being able to look at the pages of your story and saying, this is a good book, this is a good story. I cannot hope for more. Sure, I had some difficulties, sure, I had some struggles, but I had some success, and that success was living a happy life. What does that look like for me? For me, I truly hope this podcast gets out there. I truly hope I can live off of making a successful channel and podcast, and it spreads out and spreads happiness to other people, or at least helps them have a better sense of their path in life. I hope the proceeds from this channel can allow me to have the stability to buy a decent home and start a family, meet the partner of my life, and have great kids, and just age gracefully. For me, that's happiness. And if I'm happy doing that, for me, that's success. If someone said you can have $1 million or be miserable or be happy, I pick happiness. If someone told me you can be powerful, you can rule a country, but not be happy, I pick happiness. If someone told me you can be rich and famous, but be miserable, I pick happiness. For me, happiness is the true indicator of success in life, and happiness is ultimately what I want to strive for. And that's personally what I believe everyone else should strive for. Look at your lives, guys. Are you happy? Even if whether you don't have any money or if you have a ton of money working an amazing corporate job, are you happy? If the answer is no, I don't think you're achieving success, the success you deserve. I don't think you're on the path of success. If the answer is yes, or I'm getting there, I think that's the path of success. Do a self-reflection of your lives and see what will truly make you happy, because that's the biggest success in life. And to prevent myself from rambling on into this, I want to say, guys, I hope you guys all achieve happiness. Thank you for listening. And of course, if you haven't already done so, as I've said, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, help our community grow, which, if I'm doing anything right, is a growing community. And click the bell notifications for regular notifications and updates into our videos. We have more guests coming up. We have more interesting topics to discuss, and stay tuned for future content. As always, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate your time and I appreciate your support. Have a great day, and please, guys, for yourselves, pursue happiness.